Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Money Mike here in Las Vegas. Mike, you and I didn't set the world on fire last week. I had I got beat with that Cleveland thing, but I had the total in that too, and that was an awful play on my part. I thought there might be some defense, but they didn't bring the defensive team. And then I had that total in the Philly New Orleans game where Hurt fumbles the ball in the last minute. That killed me because I had it under and that went over. So it was just one of those weeks. I did have the Thursday winner. That was good. And it was just a bad week. It was just, I think I was 2-4, and I don't like losing. It was expensive. I hate to do that, but you're going to have a couple losing weeks. And I know you were a little bit on the outside looking in for a while, but then you had the Bills, and that really helped. And so not the best week for either one of us, but we can bounce back big this week.
Right. Yeah, I ended up like 3-5, Jim. Yeah, I had the Bills. Minnesota hurt me there. They lose by 12. I'm getting 6.5. They missed 3 field goals and an extra point, but I'm 54-39. It's a little over 58%, which is a winning year, and I'm still up. Not as much as I was before, but I have a couple strong plays this week and a couple smaller plays, so we got to march on. Like I said, it's the holiday season. We gave out some gifts a few weeks ago, and now with Santa Claus coming, we got to give some out for the boys this weekend. They need the money to buy those gifts for those beautiful women they love so much. So let's go.
Well, we start with tonight. We got the Chargers and the Raiders. We got Anthony Lynn versus John Gruden. I'm sure Lynn probably won't have a job next year, but I'm sure Gruden will because he's got a 10-year deal. The Raiders have not been playing well the last couple of weeks. They should have lost 4 in a row, but the Jets gave them a win, and they've been playing really poorly. They're laying 3.5. The Chargers, of course, find ways to lose. They tried to lose last week to the Falcons, but the Falcons were so bad they just couldn't possibly come back and win. So the Chargers won that game. This game is sitting at the Raiders 3.5 and 52. The interesting part about that is it opened 55, so that's a pretty substantial move to the under. And I'm looking at one or two offshores right now that have 51.5. The game's inside. There's no weather issues, and they have 2 quarterbacks that like to stretch the field. But you have 2 big wide receivers out for both of these teams. Williams and what's the other kid's name for the Raiders? Ruggs.
Ruggs is out.
Yeah. So I guess maybe that's the reason for the line move down, because it doesn't look like a game that you want to bet under it. But you got to respect that line move. That's a big move.
Yeah, I hear you. There's some injuries there, and I think Williams on the Chargers. Allen's supposed to play. Echo may play. I was very tempted to take the Chargers with 3.5 or even 3 because the Raiders at home here they've only won like 2 games. They're struggling here at home, and I know it's a big game, but they got to run the table, and then they need some gifts from Baltimore and the Colts to make the playoffs. But I can't bet the Chargers with that coach. They find ways to lose, but man, it's tempting not to take them with 3.5. But last week, like you said, Atlanta's on the 10-yard line about at the end with less than 2 minutes to go in a tie game. And Ryan threw his 3rd interception. The Chargers go down and kick that field goal. So it was great for me with that under bet I have. I just need Atlanta to lose 1 more game, and they have 2 with Tampa and 1 with Kansas City. I already won the 2 higher bets because they're not going to win 8 or 9 now. They can't. They only have 3 left with 4 wins. So I'm sitting pretty. With 7, with 4 wins, Atlanta. So I'm sitting pretty there. So we'll see what happens.
No, I think Atlanta they'll lose 2 of the next 3. I don't see them winning any more than 1. They might win 1 game, but I don't think they'll win 3. 2.
One's a maybe.
Yeah.
It's a maybe. We'll see. But okay, we go to Saturday. I'm going to make plays on both these Saturday games, Jim.
All right, tell me about it. Tell me what you're doing.
All right, I'm going to go with Green Bay minus 8.5. It's going to be a cold day up in Wisconsin. It's about a 7:15 start their time. McCaffrey's not scheduled to play, so that takes away from Teddy Bridgewater, who is a very good underdog with the points, like 25-5 maybe in his last 30. I know he's 18-2 for sure, and you know it's tempting to take him, but you got the Packers scoring over 31 points a game. You got Rodgers, probably in the league for the MVP right now. It looks like Mahomes has fallen off. So, and they're in first place. They want that home field. They want to get that bye. They don't want to, they can't afford a loss. So I figure they're going to be in the 30s with their points. I don't see Bridgewater without McCaffrey getting past 21, really. So I don't see how they can't cover this game. And the next game, I laid 6 with Buffalo. I know it was coming off a tough game Sunday night with the Steelers. They played real good. Now they're going to go where the weather isn't going to be really as cold, maybe in the 40s. But you got a Denver team that's averaging 15 points a game at home in scoring. You got Drew Lock, who's hasn't had a real good year. I mean, last week he looked real good against Carolina. That's another reason why I like Green Bay. Carolina's secondary must not be that strong. So I think Buffalo, another win, they probably sew up that AFC East division, and they're scoring about 25 to 30 a game. So and their defense looked good last week. Josh Allen's having a real good season. He's up there in the top echelon this year. I mean, I'm glad to see it that he's progressing. I really like to see it. So I think this is a real important game for them. And Denver, not much to play for, but they'll show up. I see some mistakes by Denver here. You're laying under a touchdown. I know not the normal that we like to do is take road favorites, but sometimes when they're that much stronger and they're playing for something, I have to play them. So.
Well, we can't argue with your record. You got good insight. You're doing well. Let's go on to Sunday and take a look over there. The only thing, the only real negative I see about the Bills game is what they've accomplished the last couple of weeks, and it could be a flat spot for them. But Denver isn't much of a football team, except that they can run the ball, and if they do run the ball, they might get that game a little bit more manageable, and the points might mean a little bit more if it's a lower scoring game, if that's possible. But the total's actually gone up a little bit, so the wise guys that are betting it are not saying anything about an under. They're looking at the over. Houston goes to the Colts, and the Colts are playing really, really well this year. A lot of people think this is a potential dark horse to get into the Super Bowl. I mean, they have a great offensive line. Rivers has always been a very good statistical quarterback, and he's having a good year, and he's a tough guy. It's hard to, he plays hurt, and I don't know what the hell Houston, I mean, they're a mess. They got the backup coach. They had a terrible game last week, and if they have quit, this might be the reason that the Colts are getting money, and they are. They are getting money. It went from 7 to 7.5, and there's a possibility you might see higher. And so this is a have the Texans at 4-9 actually quit on the season. As the Deshaun Watson, taking too many hits, he gets hit a lot, and. It's hard to know where these teams are going, but we know the Colts want to keep playing and keep winning.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only reason I'm going to be off this game, I lean to the Colts. They win 2 of these last 3. They'll be in the playoffs they'll make it with them and the Ravens put in. But you have to look at about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they played in Houston, and if it wasn't for that Deshaun Watson fumble inside the 5-yard line very late in the fourth quarter, when they were down, I believe, maybe 4 or 6, I forget what it was, they probably beat the Colts in that game. So to lay 7.5 or 8 is not for me. I think the Colts win. Whether they cover, Jim, I don't know. Yeah,
the thing about the Texans, they had the suspensions where they suspended those guys for taking something that was on the list that you shouldn't take. And Randall Cobb is out. Quarterback Roby's out. Will Fuller is out. He's one of the suspended guys. Him and Roby.
They have no.
Michael. I mean, this team is a mess. I mean, this is with the coach and everything else. Not knowing. I mean, Cooks is probable, so that's an addition at wide receiver, and David Johnson is also probable, so that would increase their possibilities on offense. Kenny Stills was waived. I mean, this team is a mess. I mean, and so it's really, really hard to know what they're bringing to the table. And we like to handicap games, but I'd like to know who the hell's playing and who wants to play before I get involved. So I'm not going to be involved in this game. But
no, me neither. There's several we could skip, but go ahead.
Okay, well, the Jets and the Rams, you got a 17-point favorite there. I don't know if you want to talk. The Bucs and the Atlanta. Now we know that you bet against Atlanta every week, and you've been right most of the time. I mean, they're 4-9 on the season. Tampa Bay is 4-point favorite, opened, and now it's 6. So I don't know what game you want to talk about next.
Okay, I'm gonna lay 6 with Tampa. Not because I have that under bet with Atlanta, but they're just a bad team. I mean, they're just playing bad. They find ways to lose games. Matt Ryan's playing terrible. The Bucs last week, I was against them, and it cost me. They came off a bye. They didn't look that impressive. They have about 3 guys that are listed on the COVID list from Tuesday, but if they go 5 days and pass the test, they'll play. One's the kicker, one's the punter, and Ronald Jones had a pin put in one of his fingers, and he has the virus. But then they have Fournette and they have McCoy, so they're running. They won't be without runners if Jones can't go. But I feel the kicker and the punter should be okay by Sunday if they show up negative, because the line has gone up instead of figured it would go the other way. But the Bucs, they really haven't clinched the playoff spot yet, so every game's important. So I think they show up, and you got them under a touchdown. They played games in that dome before, and Brady, he's had luck against the Falcons in that Super Bowl. So I don't look for the Falcons because you don't know if Jones is playing. Ridley might be playing. But Julio hasn't played many games this year. So what's the inspiration for them here? I don't see it. They, like I said, them in San Diego have blown too many games, Jim. So I'm on the Falcons there. The next game is a play for me.
No, you're not. You're not on the Falcons. You're on the Bucs.
Right, I'm on the Bucs -6. Sorry, excuse me.
Now I want to inject something that we didn't. I passed over on Denver. Their kicker, McManus, is out. So that's not going to help. That'll help your side being on the Bills.
Well, that's good to know, right? He's deadly on that altitude.
Yeah.
From 55 in, he's pretty deadly. So that puts more on Drew Lock, and I don't see it. Buffalo's defense, I think they'll get after him. I think they'll put the pressure on him and create enough turnovers. That Buffalo secondary to me is pretty strong. Milano's back at linebacker. I'm looking for a good performance after their big win on Sunday night with Pittsburgh. But the next play would be the Patriots at the Dolphins. I took the Patriots +2 because Big Bill Belichick, the genius, had such a good record, Jim, as you know, against rookie quarterbacks. And Miami, to me, only a 2-point favorite. They're 8-5. They're in that playoff position right now. They would be in if the season ended today. It's an awful short line, and it's even come down. I heard you say it was even 1 some places. So a lot of money coming on New England, even though they're 6-7, and their last appearance was that Thursday night game with the Rams. They looked terrible. So maybe they've had 10 days to turn things around. They're going to be playing in sunny South Beach down there. The weather will be fine. I think they can put some pressure on Tua. He's a rookie. He's having good moments and bad moments, So we'll see. I'll go with the teacher against the pupil, and we'll see what happens, Jim.
I can't argue with that analysis, except for one thing. I just don't know if Cam Newton can play. He is absolutely horrendous. But if he just, honest to God, he doesn't look like he can throw the ball accurately at all anymore. And he never was that accurate of a thrower. I mean, there might have been one game or two games this year where he actually looked decent, but for the most part, he's passing the ball for under 100 yards a game. So I don't know. I like the game under. I mean, that's my side on the game. I like the under. I don't see them getting much going here. Next game is a big one for both these teams, Seattle and Washington. They're both in the hunt for division and playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to lean with, if Alex Smith plays, I'm not betting the game. If Alex Smith is healthy to play, I would lean Redskins 5.5 at home. Seattle does travel well, but, they win some close games on the road, and you're getting, over a field goal. It's a 2-score line, so, yeah, I know they're getting healthy. Penny's supposed to be back. Carson played last week. But Alex Smith is the key. With him, it would be a play for me. Without him, there's no play. But Seattle could be looking ahead to next week with the Rams. If they win this game next Sunday for first place and a definite playoff spot in the NFC West. So do they look ahead? I don't know. But I know you like the under, which makes sense. Their defense shows up. If it's not Alex Smith, there's not going to be many points scored. In Washington last week, Alex didn't do much, but the defense came up big against the 49ers. I was on the Washington football team in that game. But I think you're right on the under, and I think Seattle in a close game and under, Jim.
Yeah, I'm not going to – it's hard to chase road favorites, but if Haskins is the quarterback, I just don't see him doing much. The only danger with Haskins with regards to the total is he might turn the ball over enough times to make Seattle score a lot, and that's dangerous. But so in one respect, I mean, Alex Smith doesn't produce a lot of points. He's very efficient. He's careful with the ball. He takes care of the ball, and he keeps you in the game. He definitely is a game manager, and he's always been excellent at doing that. But so it's hard to know what's going to happen with that. It's still up in the air. The next game, I don't know if you're interested in the Bears and Vikings or the Jags and Ravens, the Browns and Giants. They're the next three games we have.
Well, the next two, Skip. The Browns, I'm leaning with the Browns. The Giants, the quarterback situation isn't good. Jones probably won't play. He's less healthy than he was last week, so that would leave Colt McCoy. And like you said, Garrett has the virus, so he won't be calling the plays. So that goes back to Freddie Kitchens, who, to me, he couldn't coach the Browns. So how well will he do on the offensive play calling here? I would lean with the Browns, but they're a funny team to lay points with. So I think we should go on to the next game where I'm going to take the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. We're going to have two running quarterbacks. I took the Eagles plus 6.5. I know that Arizona's in the 7th spot for the playoffs, so it's a big game for them. But when they're a favorite, they seem to struggle. The Eagles' defense, I know they're banged up in the secondary, but that front seven is strong. And Hurts looked pretty good last week, and Sanders is there. Hurts is back. Jeffries played. So that's a number I love to take, 6.5. A road team getting 6.5 has always been a good play for me. It tells me the home team isn't quite there as strong. They're not up to 7 or higher. When you're 7 or higher, I give them some respect. But under 7, I go the other way, Jim. So I'm going to be on the Birds from South Broad Street, buddy.
Well, you got birds on both sides, Cardinals and Eagles. But the Eagles did play well. They jumped on the Saints last week, got a lead, and held on. And Hurts looked very efficient. I mean, he was he creates a dynamic that they haven't had there in Philly, so that's interesting. I'm not Arizona, and you mentioned it as a favorite. It's one thing. It's one thing to be favored. It's another thing to be a dog. And it's carrying weight. And I haven't been impressed with Arizona for the last 5 or 6 weeks. They did win last week, and they won easily. But I think they beat a team they should not have had Jones should not have played last week. That was a mistake by New York. They should have played Cody. the backup guy, McCoy, and Colt McCoy. That I feel that was a mistake, but they did win, and hats off to them for that. But I don't like him in a favorite role. If I'm going to play this, it's going to be Eagles or nothing. The next game's a big one. This is a big one. This could be the Super Bowl. Actually, when you get, if Breeze comes back and he's healthy, Chiefs against the Saints in the Super Bowl, very possible.
Yeah, it's a very possible. This is my second big play. I have two big plays: Green Bay, and I'm going to lay 3 with Mahomes and the Chiefs. They haven't covered the spread the last 5 weeks. They've won every game. They seem to be a little complacent. Maybe that Super Bowl hangover setting in a little. I don't know, but it looks like they can score at will. I don't know with Drew Brees whether he plays or not. Doesn't influence my play. I already made it on the Chiefs -3. Mahomes had 3 interceptions last week. Usually these good quarterbacks, Rodgers, Brady, certain ones, Wilson, they come back, a bad game, then they come back real strong. So I'm looking for them indoors there to really light up this New Orleans team. I mean, they didn't have a handle last week, New Orleans, on Jalen Hurts with the Eagles. So you give them a little bye maybe for that. They weren't that prepared for the way he was going to, handle the ball running and this and that. They're not used to that style. But I don't see Tyson Hill scoring enough points to keep up with Mahomes and all the weapons he has, Jim. This is a big game for the Chiefs. They have a 1-game lead over Pittsburgh. This would put them at, 13-1. They're looking for that bye so they can rest up and try to get into that Super Bowl again. And like you said, could be the Saints. They're a candidate. I think it's them, the Rams, or the Packers in the NFC. But we'll see, Jim.
Yeah, that's true. They are the 3 best NFC teams at the moment. Next game, I don't know if you're interested in the 49ers and the Cowboys. It's 2 teams not going anywhere, but and then of course you have the Monday night game, which is Pittsburgh and the Bengals, and that's it's pretty simple to know that Pittsburgh is the likely winner of that game. The question is whether they can cover 13 or not. So that's the remaining 3 games we have.
I'm interested in that Dallas game, Jim. I took Dallas +3. I don't like the way the Niners are playing. Samuels is out now. He's one of their key offensive players. They looked terrible last week against Washington. I mean, the Cowboys are up and down also, but I think they'd like to close the season out with some wins here for the coach and for themselves. They got some high-priced players there. I mean, Dalton, I think, way better than Mullins on the Niners. He just didn't look good last week. I think the Cowboys will put some pressure on them. They have the weapons to score. I mean, rarely are they a home dog, usually against a better team. If the Niners were fully healthy, that'd be a different story. I think Kittle might have come off the COVID list, so maybe he's a possible to play, but you still got to have time and get him the ball. I just think the Cowboys at home in this game, Jim, look a little better to me than the Niners. Plus they're 3-10 against the spread, the Cowboys. I mean, there's only 3 games left. Every team at least covers 5 or 6 a year. At least Houston's the only other team worse. They have 4. Well, them and the Jets. And I look at that stuff. 3-10 against the number. Maybe last week they got a little fired up playing a bad Cincinnati team, and maybe they'll give the fans in Dallas, because there'll be a few fans there. Maybe they can give them a win. The Niners are out of the playoff picture, so what do they come? How inspired do they come this Sunday as a road favorite on an early game in Dallas?
Yeah, I can understand that. I understand. I certainly wouldn't be on the favorite in this game. It's either Dallas or nothing. So you got 7 plays: Green Bay, Buffalo, Tampa, New England, Philly, KC, and Dallas, and the 2 big ones are Green Bay and KC. That's
correct. They're my 2 big plays. And I did play 1 big game in college. I laid 17 with Alabama. Florida looked terrible last week against LSU. Maybe we're looking for this game, but they have too many weapons, Alabama. I know Florida has Trask, but to play that bad against LSU, a terrible team this year, very bad because of all the players they lost to the NFL. I mean, I can't see them keeping pace with Alabama. I mean, they're usually favored by 28, 30, and those high numbers. And first score you see is like 21-0 or 21-3. Last week it was 3-3. Next thing they scored 49 unanswered points. I know it was Arkansas, but still, they're going to look to roll it up. Saban never takes his foot off the pedal. This looks to me like a 42-10 game, maybe. I mean, I don't see Florida in this game at all, Jim.
Well, even if they get to 20, if Alabama might get to 50. So I can't argue with you there at all. I think Alabama wins that game, wins it easily. Yeah, it's going to be a good week. We're both going to have good weeks this week. I got some totals. I mentioned some of them along the way. I think the Miami, the Seattle, and maybe even the Steelers and Bengals might be a game to look at the under, because you don't see that Pittsburgh's going to try to bounce back. They've had 2 bad games. They're not doing well on offense. They don't run the ball. Ben's a little older, but he's throwing the ball a lot, and they'll manage the game. But their defensive side, I don't see Cincinnati scoring. I mean, they got Burrow's gone. I don't see them putting up points. And Pittsburgh's, got some pride. Tomlin's going to have them working hard to shut this team down. That might be an underplay as well. So that's where I'm at, and I'll decide on the rest of my card as the week goes on. But thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, and have a good week.
You too, Jim. Let's have some winners for the fans, and we'll talk next week.
All right, buddy.
Christmas.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, Jim.
Okay, everybody, at Jim Feist Sports on JimFeist.com, Jim Feist Sports on Twitter. Follow us. We've been doing good. I mean, last year was a bump in the road, no question. Mike was 3-5. I was 2-4. We got to do better, but you can't win every week. I mean, nobody wins every week, and it's ridiculous. So we're going to bounce back this week. So stay with us. Thanks.
Imagine an ER waiting room with your favorite blanket and pillow, your cat's Pixel and Widget, and your mom's chicken soup. At Dignity Health, we know the only thing worse than being in pain is being stuck in an ER waiting room. So we offer In Quicker. You get an estimated ER arrival time online so you can start your wait at home. It's just another way of putting leading-edge medicine within easy reach. Learn more at strosehospitals.org/ER. Dignity Health, including St. Rose Dominicans, Rose de Lima, San Martin, and Siena campuses in Henderson and Las Vegas. Hello, human kindness.
As a small business owner, you're reimagining the way you work. From rethinking your bandwidth to reassessing your voice solutions, you're changing the way you do business. And at Cox Business, so are we. Our flexible internet and voice packages give you the solutions you need to get back to business. Rethink, reconnect, reimagine. Get 50 megs of internet and IP-centric select for only $89 per month for 6 months, no annual contract required. Ends 12/31/20. Restrictions apply. Visit coxbusiness.com for details. All services subject to Cox Business general terms.